Hello everyone. Today I wanted to show you how to make the little butterfly necklaces that I've posted on the page before. Some people have commented that they'd like to try to make them, but that are having a bit of trouble knowing how to bend the wire. So I wanted to share with you how I make these. I'm talking about these little butterfly necklaces. As you can see, it's a pretty simple design. It incorporates some beads, a little jump ring, and a simple black cord. So if you'd like to know how to make these, please keep on watching. So first we'll go over the materials you're going to need. The first thing is approximately 15 centimeters of 18 gauge round copper wire. You can use square perhaps if you'd like, though I prefer round. You could use anything other than copper as well if you'd like. And this is 1 millimeter for those who don't use gauges. Then you're also going to need a couple of pieces of about 26 gauge or 28 gauge, or that translates to like 0.3 or 4 millimeter wire. I've just been using scrap pieces that I've got left over because you only need like really short pieces, I think approximately 20 centimeters in total, and you're gonna cut off quite a bit of excess on that. Then the next thing you're gonna want to have is some beads. I used to use some little interesting shimmery type of beads. I've used anything as big or as small as about 2 millimeters to 4 millimeters. It's just dependent on the size of the wings that you're gonna make. And then lastly, you're gonna need some simple cord or chain or anything that you're gonna want to put the butterflies on. You're also gonna need some tools. First tool that I have here is just some flat nose pliers. The second tool that you're going to need are some flush cutters or some wire cutters. And then the last one you're going to need is your round nose pliers. So those are the materials and tools you're going to need. So let's get started on making these. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is taking your round nose pliers and your 18 gauge wire, and you're going to create a small loop at the beginning of the wire. I just used the smallest size. Let me show you the smallest size on my round nose to create a little loop. You want to make sure that it's flat. If it's not, like mine, you're going to use your flat nose and just press that gently until it's flat, because you don't want things catching on this. From here on out, you're gonna shape the butterfly by hand. I don't use my round nose pliers or anything like that. I just use my fingers. I use my fingers for all curves or spirals or things like that, and I'll just show you how that works. So you're gonna want to face the wire away from you. That's just easiest. Put your thumb on the little loop you've just created and just bend gently. Oh, my fingers are a bit sweaty, so it's a little bit difficult to keep it steady, but you're gonna want to bend until the wire is facing away. Now you want to keep this part relatively small, so I'd say no more than about a centimeter, or else you're gonna potentially run out of wire, or you're gonna have to cut off the loop and make a new loop, which just is kind of a waste of time. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna take my finger and press it down on the just curved part and continue that all the way until I create the first sort of part of the butterfly wing. You'll see that this wire is now underneath this top wire. That's totally fine. You can just bend it out of the way later. You're gonna do a lot of maneuvering with this, so you don't have to get it perfectly right away. Just bend it a little bit more. There we go. And then I'm going to just continue doing this. So putting my thumb on the portion that I just bent, making like a tiny bend and continuing that until I've got the second piece. Let's see. And you want to press and pull until you're happy with the shape of that. I'm pretty happy with that. I'll put this up a little bit. And you're going to continue again, pressing your finger, your thumb a little bit on the wire, bending it gently again until you create the second part. These are a bit close, so I'll pull them apart a little bit. So then we've got the bottom portion done, and once again pressing my finger on the wire to gently curve everything. Curve, 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 gently. You can also use your nail in here just to curve the wire around your nail. Just do whatever is easiest for you. And then we've got the approximate shape of the butterfly. Now you can just keep on maneuvering this a little bit until you're fully happy with it. Let's make it a little bit more symmetrical. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with where this is at right now. So as you can see, this is the front of the butterfly, and it's quite a mess. The wires are all crossed over one another. While if you look at the example here, you can see that they've got these nice TD curved edges rather than the mess that we have here. So I'm now going to fix that. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, to get it right in one go rather than having to flex and work on this a little bit more. But this is just how I do it, because I keep forgetting to just do it in the easiest way. So if you've got the butterfly facing towards yourself and the antennae are facing up, you're going to want to sort of unfold or uncurl this bottom portion here. You're going to want to do that gently. You don't want to kink the wire. Gently just take it, because this part was at the bottom, and now gently we're putting it on the top. We're closing that loop again. There we go. Of course, you can see it bent out of shape a little bit. So we're just going to maneuver that until we're happy with it again. Let's see. This one moved a little bit, but that's okay. All right, so that's the first side done. You can see now we've got this smooth curve at the front rather than the mess we had before. Now the only thing we have to do is then, once again, you're facing the butterfly towards yourself, the antennae are facing up, and you're going to want to uncurl or unfold this portion of the wing, because this one is now on top and you want that to go down. If you have any like really big excess of wire left over, you're going to want to trim that a little bit just to make it easier for yourself. So once again, I'm going to hold it upside down. Gently going to be, let's see if I can do it like that. So fold it open and close it again. Takes a little bit of maneuvering, manipulating the wire. There we go. Let's hold it back towards myself. Okay. I'm not quite happy with how this looks yet, so I'm going to continue maneuvering this until I'm happy with it. And you can play with this wire as much as you'd like. Once you've done a few of these butterflies, you'll get a lot quicker at making them. Let's see. I've just got one edge here, which is still rather straight. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers just to help me, because I can't easily bend that myself. with my fingers. There we go, just a little bit. Oh, no, it's not quite where I want it yet. There we go, that's better. Now it's become a little bit smaller, so I'm going to use a little bit more wire. There we go. So I'm pretty happy with the general shape of this. So all that is left to do now to finish the frame of this butterfly is to curl this little end piece. For that I'm turning it on its back. I'm going to press my thumb down on the top part of the wing just to make sure that this general shape doesn't get pulled too much when I'm trying to make a loop. And then I'll just fold it again to create a little... Oh. Okay, well, you can see this one is like slightly larger than the other one. If you're fine with that, you can just leave it. I know that I'll get a little bit annoyed by that, so I'm gonna trim it off and curl it in a little bit more just to see if I can make them a bit more even. So I'm gonna use my flush cutters, gently cut off a little piece, grab my round nose pliers and just gently curve that. Press everything sort of into the same dimension again. There we go. And so now we've got the frame of our little butterfly necklace. So you could just leave it as is. It looks pretty cute right now, but I like to bead mine. And to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is just gently flatten it on the table. And I'm going to see whether or not my beads fit. I've got a couple beads here that I want to try using. And I always try to see whether or not these fit, because if they don't, I'm going to need to take some other beads. You can just do that by laying the beads inside of the wings. I'm actually thinking that these are going to be a bit small. So as I said, these beads are going to be a little bit small. They seem to fit right now, but they're a bit wider than when they're just sitting in the way they're going to sit on the wire. So I'm going to take a couple of these really tiny, let's see if I can balance it on my finger. There we go. Some really tiny, like 2mm gold beads to add to that. And then put those aside. And then we're going to take our 26 or 28 gauge or 0.3 or 0.4mm wire. Let's see if I can focus that. Yes. And we're going to attach this wire to the butterfly. Now you want to attach the wire on the back because that just looks the neatest. And how am I going to attach it? You're going to put your weaving wire through the top part of the wing. I'm just holding it down with my thumb. At the opposite side, you're going to fold it down and you're going to come up between the two wings. So you're going to go down through this part of the wing and you're going to come up in between these two. And you want to do that until you've got about 3 loops. Of course, you can do a bit more if you'd like, but 3 tends to be enough to secure the wire. There we go. You can slide the beginning of this to wherever you want. Of course, this keeps on bending, so you're going to want to adjust that later on, but let's see if I can shift that a little bit more towards the top. Okay, there we go. I'm going to straighten this piece of wire where your beads are going to sit on, and you're going to want to attach your beads. You can just attach them however you'd like. I just take the gold one, then a white one, and then a greenish turquoisey one. Oh, it's out of focus. Come on, camera. There you go. And you just make sure you keep a hand on the wire, or else they might slide off. As you can see, that fits perfectly well. So you're going to now fold the wire down over the wing. I'm going to put my finger gently on top of the beads to keep them in place. And then you're going to take your weaving wire and come up through the wing. And you're going to pull, 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 pull. Tighten that. Bend it over the part of the wing. And then come up. Come up through the wing again. Repeat until you've got 3 loops. There we go. Now, 2 things can happen. As you can see, these beads are moving around a little bit because the holes are bigger than the weaving wire I'm using. You could leave it as is. That's perfectly fine. I think I'm actually going to do that. But if you think that this is moving around too much and it annoys you a little bit, you could always take your weaving wire, push your beads up a little bit, and go through again. Oh, it's actually going very easy, so I'm guessing I'm gonna go back this time. The wire is coming out at the back. That's what you want, because you want everything to be near the back. I'm gonna use my pliers because I can't grip the wire very well with my fingers. Oh, I've got the wrong wire end. Ha, that's funny. Let's see. Oh, it actually came up at the front. That's also fine if it's coming up through the front. All you gotta do is pull it through, and then eventually you're gonna want to pull that back towards the back. That's fine. I'm just gonna first tighten that. There we go. Then bring that back because it's actually, as you can see, it actually came out at the front. Let me just have a quick peek. I always make sure if I tighten it by going through the beads twice, that the wire comes back at the side where I don't have the wraps yet. So I've got the wraps, three wraps on this side right now. So I'm gonna make the wire go through at this side so that I can tighten it so that it's symmetrical rather than having all the wraps on one side. I'm gonna just bring it back towards the back. It takes a little bit of maneuvering because it doesn't really want to do that. Let's see if I can do that. Hello. Yes, there we go. All right, so now we're back at the back. We're at the side where there are no loops yet. And now we're going to attach this wire. And to do that, I'm going to just bring it down in between the wings, the part of the wings, and I'm going to bring it up through the wing. Tighten that, bring it down in between, and bring it up through. Again, repeat that until you got at least 3 wraps. Go up. Let's see how many wraps do I've got. Oh, I need 1 more. We'll bring it up. There we go. So now I've got 3 wraps. I'm going to cut off the excess with my flush cutters on both sides. And there we go. And then I'm going to use my flat nose pliers just to tuck in the edges. I've got really bad eyes, so I'm pretty close to my camera right now. Sorry if you can hear me breathing. There we go. And then this one, let's see how it's going that way. There we go. And I always feel with my fingers whether or not it's scratchy or catching on my finger, because you don't want that. And then last step is I use my flat nose pliers just to bring those 2 closer together. And you want to make sure that your loops are laying on top of the wire that you can see going down here, because that makes it hidden as much as you can from the front. So if you now face the front, you can still see some of the loops here, but not as much. And I want to push the beads up a little bit so you can see them a little bit better from the front. So that will be one side. I'm going to actually push that a little bit more. There we go. So that's like one side beaded. And you want to just repeat this process on the other side. So we're going to the back again, pushing my weaving wire through the wing. And now I'm actually going to come up in between the wing part and part of the antenna rather than in between the wings. Oh, that is if it wants to work with me. Oh, or not. Just straighten that a little bit. That's actually not true what I just said. I made a little mistake. I'm going to still come up between the two wings. Otherwise, you're going to actually wrap it around part of this wing piece, and you don't want that. So then we go down through the wing, and you're going to come up in between. Again, repeat this until you have 3 wraps, 2 or 3 or 4. You can do as many or as little as you'd like, but 3 tends to secure it for me. I'll make sure that this part of the wire is straight again. You're going to add your beads. The end of my wire is a little bit crooked, so I'm going to actually cut that off to make it easier to put the beads on. Once again, we start with the gold one. Like I said, my eyes are terrible, so if I'm moving out of the frame, it's because I'm moving closer to my face. There we go. And then once again, to secure these, you're going to move the wire down over the wing part. I'm going to hold the beads gently down with my fingers again, and we're going to come up through the wing. We're going to pull that tight, bend down again, come up through the wing again, bend it over again, and come up through the wing again. So we've got 3 loops. Then I'm moving to the front again, because these are also moving a lot. So we're gonna try and thread through the beads again. I can already feel that this one is going to be a little bit more difficult. Oh, we missed the last bead. Gotta just maneuver this right until you go through all 3. Let's see if I can do that. Nope. I'm gonna just pause the recording for a second and thread this through, because it might take a little bit of time. Okay, so the only thing I've done so far off camera is to thread the wire through the beads again. I was having a little bit of trouble, and it's not so interesting for you guys to be watching me struggle. So once again, made sure that the wire came out at the back, at the side where there is no loops yet. So now we go down in between the two, and we come up through the wing to once again secure this. I'm going to hold it a little bit different to be able to secure that. Once again, down, in between, and up through. Pull that tight. Oh. And then we go down again, through and up. There we go. I think that's 3. I'll do one more, because these ones are really sliding around and I want this to be super secure. So there we go. I'm gonna cut off again the excess with my flush cutters. Let's see. That's 1. That can be a bit better. And that's 2. And I'm going to take my flat nose, hold that up to my blind eyes again and just gently take that wire in. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to get between these. You can just carefully press a little bit, and then as you can see, it's moving out of shape a little bit. It's bending out of shape, but we're gonna fix that later on. This one again, just using my pliers to make sure it doesn't scratch, and it doesn't scratch. So then the last step is again compressing this a little bit. There we go. Now this bend out of shape a little bit, so I'm gonna bend it up again to actually sit in the right shape. There we go. Moving it towards the front, once again pushing the beads up a little bit, and there we have our beaded butterfly. So the next thing you're going to want to do is either you're going to have, let me just clear up my mess. You're going to want to either take a ready-made jump ring, or I'm just going to use a little bit of 18 gauge wire, straighten a little bit off camera, cut off a little piece, make my own jump ring. I don't have any ready-made ones right now, so that's why. Otherwise I'd be using those. See how big I want that. And I just make a jump ring, huh? Excuse you, Mr. Wire. There we go. Let's see. Curve that a little bit further. There we go. And then I'm gonna just cut through both pieces. Cut that a bit straight. I always put my fingers on the wire to make sure it doesn't just go fly off everywhere. And then we want to, of course, straighten that a little bit. Alrighty, so we have made ourselves a little jump ring. You can just open that up. Open it up a little bit. Put it through a portion of the antenna. Either you can do left or right, doesn't really matter, it's just what you like. And then we want to close the jump ring. There we go. I always make sure again that there's no scratchy feeling. And then all we're going to need to do is take our cord or thread or whatever it is you want to use to hang your butterfly from. Thread that through. I've already, this is a synthetic cord, so it unravels a little bit. So I used a lighter to just melt the edges a little bit. That way it stays neat. Tie a little knot. There we go. Pull on the knot a little bit to make sure it's tight. And there we have it. Our little butterfly necklace. So to keep this from oxidizing, you could put a little bit of lacquer on it, a little bit of clear nail polish. I just use a beeswax based wax, which I make at home to keep it from oxidizing because I prefer this bright coppery color. You could also oxidize this if you want with liver of sulfur or anything else. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it made clear how I make these little butterflies. And I hope you can now try and make some yourself if it wasn't clear how to do that before. Again, I'm gifting these to people that are keeping our society going in these tough times, and I'd hope you'd feel inspired to do the same or something similar for those near you. So thank you all very much, and I hope you can enjoy trying these butterfly charms.